All right, thanks, Charles. All right, I want to talk to you about your product selection. So the number one most important thing about a product is that you really have to understand it and like it. When it comes to things like writing your ad copy, or if you so decide writing some content about your product, if you don't understand it and if you don't like it, what will come out is something that's going to be, standard, generic, and indifferent, and people will feel that. So liking your product is your number, and understanding it enough to be able to talk about it coherently is your number one rule for picking your product. Your number two rule, and they're all equivalent, so they all have to be fulfilled. It's not like one is more important than the other, is the product has to have great quality. You want your customers to be happy once they purchase it, and also for purely selfish reasons, you won't get so many returns and refund requests if the product is really of superb quality. Next, you really need to be sure that the market for your product is large. A product where there is a demand. And obviously, there are thousands, maybe even millions of such products which actually always have a demand. So your job really is to establish whether your product has that kind of a demand. So I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of product research. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to google.com, which is your friendly search engine. Okay, let's just say we want to be selling a dog training course for Cesar Millan. The guy on TV with all the dogs, Dog Whisperer, right? So let's see what we can discover by using a few tools, such as google.com and a few others, which I'll show you in a second. So let's just type it in. So here we go, Cesar Millan's dog training. And then you look at this and you can see, there is so many results for that. Okay, now what you do is obviously you write that number down, and then you also put that whole phrase in quotes. Okay, the difference, and now you can see the number here is a lot smaller. The difference between the two is that if you have no quotes, Google will look for pages which contain each one of these words, but it doesn't matter where. They could be scattered all over the page, and they don't have to be one next to the other. Whereas if you put it in quotes, you get only the pages, or the number of pages, which have this specific phrase, word by word, written exactly as it is here. And this number is also very often referred to as your organic competition, right? So as you can see, it's quite a bit smaller. But basically what it also tells you is if you have so many competitors or competing pages, well, perhaps that is a worthwhile product after all. Now let's do the same kind of thing for the niche keyword. In this case, the niche is dog training. You could say it's dog, but that would be actually too broad. So if we said dog training, you can see there's 140 odd million results. But if you put that in quotes, you're going to have a much smaller number. Well, still a very nice number, almost 27 million results. Okay, so now you have four numbers that you already know about your particular niche and about your particular product. Now what you can do is you can go and visit Google Trends, which is google.com/trends, right? And also establish where is this niche going currently, and maybe also the product. So let's try first with the niche itself, dog training. And you can see it's been sliding down a bit. I think there's a lot to be said for the current economic situation. Now let's add another term to this and let that be Cesar Millan's dog training. Right? I'm not using an apostrophe there because Google ignores that anyway. This one basically doesn't even show up. It's so tiny. So let me just get rid of dog training here, and we only have this one. Not enough search volume to show graphs. So let's go in and check. We do that using AdWords.google.com. That's an AdWords keyword tool. All right, so the thing you're looking for is dog training, and you're also looking for Cesar Millan's dog training, or dog whisperer, right? there's another one. Yeah, we can do that. You can, obviously what your particular product is all about. Okay, now the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your match type for whatever search you're going to do is exact. You can keep the broad on as well, but make sure you have exact on as well. Okay, and I'll explain what that means and what it does in a second. So what we do now is we say search. Oh, okay, it's already searched it for me, and I'll just very quickly tell you what these numbers mean. First of all, as you hover over this here, can you see there's a little number there? Oh, 71. That means 71% competition density for the exact word. No, it's actually higher. It's 94 and 71 for a broad term. So many global monthly searches for that specific term, or so many if it's typed on its own without any words preceding or trailing it, right? So that already gives you an idea of how big your potential search volume might be for this specific term. It also tells you this is an approximate CPC cost per click were you to use AdWords, okay? You can also see other suggestions. Here you can see the product name that I've typed, and you see that actually it says, well, there is hardly any search volume on that specific keyword. So you may want to be looking at alternative keywords, and obviously if you say let's sort this by clicking on this, let's sort this by global monthly searches, then you can essentially pick your best keywords. This is essentially how you do that. Now the next thing is, once you've picked the keywords that that describe your product really well, what you also want to do is you want to go to a website called SpyFu. There we go. And then you can do the same thing. Dog training, for example, search. And here you're going to get all kinds of additional information about your keyword, and it basically confirms to you whether your product is as hot as you think. This is what people are paying according to SpyFu. And you can even look at who your top advertisers are, who you're competing against, and that sort of stuff. So basically, you're getting a deeper and deeper understanding of your product and, of course, of your keywords. Now, the next thing you do is you go back to your Google search. Let's go back to our dog training general keyword, and let's see who comes up. And you see, there's all kinds of websites coming up. There's also here Cesar Millan's site. It's called Caesar's Way. So let me just grab this URL here and copy that, Control-C, like so. And then I'm going to go to one more resource site, which is called Quantcast. And I'm going to look what they tell me about the demographics of the users who use this specific site. Even if my product has nothing to do with him, but it is a dog training related product, using his demographic information might be very helpful. Also, obviously, we have all these other sites here which we can run through Quantcast. Not all of them will show up, but the major ones will, such as Cesar Millan's one, and you can see his trends, and you can also see his demographics, how many visits he's getting, who is visiting him, how many males versus females. As you can see, females outnumber males tremendously, which is very interesting. Why? You can see your ages, right? So immediately, just by looking at this, you're saying to yourself, well, if my product is very similar to Caesar's, or maybe it is Caesar's product, then I really should be crafting my ads to accommodate, first and foremost, females, probably in the 25 to 34 age range, or maybe up to 44. You can see that basing, just by looking at this whole stuff here, which is really very, very useful. So you establish, basing on all of this, how popular your product is. What are your chances of actually getting, a lot of interested people? And as you have seen from your Google AdWords, your dog training has about 50,000 here, according to that, people searching using just that term, and then plus, of course, all the other terms that we can see here. Obviously, we would have to look at it from the point of view of only exact searches. So this one is now just because that's really the important one. The broad ones are not as important as the exact ones. So you can immediately see, okay, this is really telling you something about the overall volume of traffic. So it's a nice little niche, actually, even though the trends, as you've seen, have been going down here. But you can also see that some of the keywords actually have been going up. Even Cesar Millan himself has been going up a bit. The reason you need to know that is because it informs you whether your product is something that you're barking up the right tree about or not. Pun intended. Obviously, another thing you want to do is you want to check the affiliate conditions for whatever products that you're selling. So in this case, I'm not going to bore you with that. If you dig, through this site, you will probably find that they are selling a number of products, and the commissions on those products are reasonably small. I think something like 8%. And on average, depending on what you pick to promote, you will probably make about $10 per sale on average. I did not go really deeply into this, so I might be a little bit wrong, but let's just assume I'm right. So basically, you're then looking at, okay, so if I'm making $10 a sale, if my traffic, expected interested traffic is of a certain size, then I can start making projections as to how many sales I might be able to make. So let's say if I send 50,000 people to my page with a keyword not as broad as dog training, but something much more specific, right? You all of a sudden you discover that maybe that particular product, if that's the one you're basing on, maybe it doesn't really have enough of a traffic there to guarantee you any kind of interest. So you might be sending thousands of people to your page, and the vast majority of them will actually not really be interested in that product, even though they might be generally interested in the dog training niche. So knowing this kind of stuff informs you what it is, and also then, of course, the amount of money that you're going to be making per sale tells you whether or not it's going to be worthwhile. So if you get 50,000 visits and you convert 0.1%, what's that going to be? That's going to be 5 sales, right? 5 sales for $10, that's $50 made. And what if your campaign for the 50,000 cost you, $200, right? So then you have a loss, obviously. So this is how you need to think about this. So ultimately, what you really want is to make sure that the keywords that best describe your product and the product itself have a really high popularity. So you, of course, using the tools I've just shown you, you'll be able to establish that. And there's tons of products which have massive numbers of searches per month. And these really are the kinds of products that you want to be looking at, especially in your early days. In other words, you want to start with a sure thing. So once again, about the per sale profit that you want to be achieving is, I would say you really want to be going for products that give you about $100 per sale. That's the ideal. Now you can also go for products that are a little bit less lucrative, but obviously then you have to balance that with your entire campaign cost. Also, if a product is cheaper but has rebilling, so people pay monthly for it, that also might be a pretty good idea, in which case the amount of money that you make per month might be smaller, but of course at the end of the day it's all going to add up. All right, and at this point I would say it's probably a really good idea for you to have a look at Charles's Winning Strategies series book, Affiliate Marketing Resources, where you have all kinds of links to places where you can find great products. And obviously whatever product you do pick, make sure that you run it through these 5 websites I've shown you. Make sure that you write down all the things you discover, especially demographic information is really very important when you start buying your traffic from the sources that Charles will be talking to you about. Knowing who your customer is really key. All right, so that was me, and now back to Charles.